Roll.
Mayor Hattasol.
Here.
Commissioner Butler.
Here.
Commissioner Motta.
Here.
Commissioner Morse.
Present.
Mayor, we have 4 commissioners present. The quorum of 3 has been met.
Very good. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have got 3 proclamations tonight. We will start with World Polio Day. Please meet me up front here. This one holds a special place in my heart. My dad had polio when he was 16, and it kept him out of World War II and service to his country, which was his second biggest regret besides not buying more farmland in the 50s. And so, all right. Whereas Rotary International, founded on February 23rd, 1905 in Chicago, Illinois, is the world's first and one of the largest nonprofit service organizations. And whereas Rotary is a global network consisting of over 1.4 million members in more than 46,000 clubs in 221 countries and geographical areas, who unite as neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers to take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. Whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. Whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to immunize the children of the world against polio. Whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. Whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than $2.6 billion and countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. Whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Whereas these efforts are providing much-needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and education materials for healthcare workers and parents. And whereas in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. Whereas there are approximately 225 Rotary Club members in our 2 Rotary Clubs in Manhattan who sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in our local community and abroad. And whereas Manhattan Rotarians have committed their time, talent, and treasure to continue support of Polio Plus until polio is finally eradicated from the earth. Now, therefore, I, Mark Hattasol, Mayor of the City of Manhattan, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 24th as World Polio Day and encourage all citizens to participate in observing that day. Here, who would like to say something? Chris?
Thank you very much, Mayor Hattasol. We are very close to eradicating polio in the world now. Up to this time, up to September 30th this year, we have only had 8 wild-type cases. 6 of those were in Afghanistan. So hopefully by the end of this decade, we will be able to eradicate the second disease that has been a plague upon mankind for many thousands of years. And then we can use the money to go after the next set of diseases to help cure.
Anybody else? Nope. Linda, come on over.
It's a pleasure to be part of Rotary, and one of the things I would just note is that each Rotarian is asked to commit $100 a year toward that, and it's a commitment that we all make because we know how important it is. So appreciate this opportunity to have Manhattan recognize Polio Plus.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, next up is the Buddy Poppy proclamation. Where's that Poppy girl? Poppy lady, okay. All right, hello, 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 hello. So I believe I forgot to introduce Chris Culbertson, Shelley Carver, and obviously Commissioner Morse there for the polio one. For this one, we have Mike Riley, Janice Woodyard, and Julie Gloy. That's right. Okay, I should have known that. All right. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by government leaders since 1922. And whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. Whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. Now therefore, I, Mark Hattasol, the Mayor of the City of Manhattan, do hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through donations towards the Buddy Poppy Drive on October 28, 2023, the day set aside for the distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of our honored dead. I urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as mute evidence of the gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. All right, here's that, if you want to say a few words. Or not.
I will try and keep this brief. As these folks know, and all the people know in my post, you put me in front of a microphone, you might as well get popcorn. The fact of the matter is, though, is that last year our post, Lee Pearson, VFW Post 1786 here in Manhattan, had the second most community service hours in the entire state of Kansas. Our members will reach out to the community, veterans, their families, or other community members in need of help, to do whatever's necessary, get them to a doctor's appointment, help them move, whatever's necessary, we're there for them. Because the one thing that we never ever forget is that our brothers and sisters didn't all come home. And that's what those poppies represent. And for those folks today that were generously contributing, you have my personal thanks. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Give them my card here. We'll just wait 20 seconds here. Very good. Our last proclamation for the evening is for Veterans Day. Vern Turner, if you want to come on up. Hello, hello. Welcome. Whereas Veterans Day has its origins in the November 11th, 1918 armistice, which brought World War I to a conclusion. And whereas the Allied victory of World War I affirmed the strength of great nations acting together for high purposes. And whereas the people of the United States caused, through their elected representatives, the designating of November 11th as a federal legal holiday, which in 1954 became officially known thereafter as Veterans Day. Whereas Veterans Day continues to be celebrated and commemorated with solemn observances in honor of all Americans who have served their country in times of war and conflict. And whereas Veterans Day has become a significant part of our American heritage, as we recognize the millions of our citizens whose military service has had a profound effect on history. Whereas the courage, honor, sacrifice, and dedication which veterans of the United States Armed Forces have displayed in the cause of justice, freedom, and democracy are most worthy of recognition. Now therefore, I, Mark Hattasol, the Mayor of the City of Manhattan, do hereby call upon all citizens to commend America's veterans and observe Saturday, November 11th, 2023 as Veterans Day, and ask that the day be observed with appropriate ceremonies in honor of those who have served to preserve our principles of justice, freedom, and democracy. Vern? There you go. All right, thank you.
I just want to let everybody know that since Veterans Day this year does happen on a Saturday, we'll actually have the parade on Friday, so all the school children can also participate in the parade. We also will have a display at the senior citizens and also a poster display at the mall and some of the businesses down on Point. So thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Appreciate it. Next up are commissioner comments. Commissioners, what's on your mind?
I would just like to say that this last week, that the Kathy Ray at the Crisis Center, sponsored a domestic violence program at the Courthouse Plaza that was well attended to call attention to domestic violence, and we need to continue to do that. I guess we use our feet to call attention to it. So I wanted to just mention that.
I would just like to mention, you've seen in the paper that we lost our Director of Public Works, Rob Ott, to cancer last week after a tremendous long fight over a period of years. And so he was inspiration to all of us in so many ways, and we're really going to miss him. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which are items of a routine or housekeeping nature, or items that have been previously considered by the City Commission. Commissioner may request an item be removed for separate discussion immediately after this. Comments from the public on this will be available in just a few minutes. You'll have up to 5 minutes to speak. Commissioners, any initial questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have two quick comments. One of the miscellaneous items here is, of course, a holiday display agreement with Whoville. And just so everybody knows, that's not a thing the city does. That's a private group, Whoville, that donates the money to make that happen. And they've got a website, and if you've got a spare $5 or $1, feel free to donate to them because they could sure use the help.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions, anything? So I will open the floor for public comment on consent agenda items only at this moment. You'll have up to 5 minutes. Please state your name, address, or what organization you're representing. Or we'll call it good because it's the consent agenda. Any motions or questions?
I have one question on the East Manhattan Gateway Plan Community Advisory Committee. That the staff put together that group. And I got a question from one of the Pot County Commissioners wanting to know if they had sufficient input.
So we have 11 positions that were on that community advisory committee. We actually received 11 applications only, and so we were able to utilize all 11 individuals. Our recommendation for the city commission is to appoint 9 to the seats that the city's to appoint, and that would leave 2 remaining seats for the resident at large, which the county would appoint those 2 members.
Okay, so Pot County's got the ability to appoint 2.
Correct, yes. It went to them on Monday. They didn't make a formal recommendation, so my understanding it's going to be taken back to them next week for that formal recommendation, but they still will be able to appoint those 2.
Okay, that was the question, because they were afraid we were going to put 2 people in without their consent. Got it, that's fine. Excellent, thank you.
All right. How about that motion thing?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as distributed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Morse,
Yes.
Mayor Hattasol.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, we'll move on to a couple of public hearings. Rena.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, we have 2 items that require public hearings. And the first one is related to Aggieville Business Improvement District. Let me bring up the PowerPoint. And the reason for the public hearing is because we are expanding or proposing to expand the district. Not related to the public hearing, just wanted to let you all know there's no increase in the fees for this particular district. There is a map included in your packet. So the orange outlined with the dashes is the original district that was included in the ordinance from last year, and then this green area is the new proposed area. There's a new development that was built across the street from Burger King. It's Mr. Chin's property. There is some commercial property in that space, and that's why the Aggieville Business Improvement District Advisory Board voted to request for the expansion. Dennis Cook, the Executive Director for Aggieville Business Association, is here if you have any questions for him prior to opening the public hearing.
My question. On that building, is the assessment based on square footage of commercial versus he's not gonna have to pay sort of dues on the residential?
It's just commercial development, not residential, and it's a base fee of $250, and then the other fee is based on the square footage of the actual commercial spaces.
Okay. All right, any questions for Rena or Dennis? Fabulous presentation, thank you. All right, we will open up the public hearing for this Aggieville Business Improvement District expansion. If anybody care to comment, please come forward, state your name. If not, I will close the public hearing and ask if there's any other questions by the commission. All right, I guess we'll have ready for a motion.
Okay, I move we approve first reading of an ordinance levying existing business improvement service fees for 2024 on businesses located within the Aggieville Business Improvement District.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this motion. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Morse,
Yes.
Mayor Hassel,
Yes?
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
motion carries 4-0.
The next item is expanding the downtown business improvement district.
Thank you, sir. Downtown Business Improvement District, their advisory board voted to expand their district. In July, there is a 3% increase in fees that's included as part of the ordinance. Regarding the public hearing, that purple outline is what is being expanded. There are some residential areas in there that would not be included. And then a not-for-profit is in there as well. But in particular, there is a Mexican restaurant that is included in this district that, in this purple outline, that is being proposed to be assessed.
That's part of the VFW building? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. And Gina has talked to that particular business owner.
Okay.
And Gina Snyder, the Executive Director for Downtown Manhattan, Inc. is here if you have any questions of her. I just wanted to include, it's included in the ordinance, the new fee proposal. It's not a part of the public hearing, but just part of this presentation. And that's the change in the fees, 3%, based on retail and non-retail, core, and periphery. Do you have any questions of myself or Gina?
I remember visiting with Gina several years ago, 4 maybe. We were talking about the need to expand the district because we had businesses that were compatible with the district, and it made sense to add to it. So I'm glad to see this actually happening. So it's a good thing.
All right, very good. We'll open up the public hearing on this downtown business improvement district expansion and 3% fee increase. If anybody would care to comment, come on up, sign in, state your name, where you live, height, weight, all that stuff. You'll have up to 5 minutes, and we'll take whatever you say under advisement. We won't get into a debate.
All right. Can you pull up the map again? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the area like above,
I'm sorry.
the area above the mall going up to Bluemont Avenue, that includes like Hy-Vee, right?
Yes.
Is there any eventual? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is there any eventual plan to expand even further to places like Hobby Lobby and Walmart, since that would fall under like the same kind of category?
We'll keep going and we'll answer your questions at the end here.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, so
Can
come back up again. State your name and address here for us.
Oh, my name's Jacob, and I live at 4514 Freeman Road. Jacob
Okay.
Stoltz. There.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rena, that's being across the thing, it's really not downtown in particular. Would it need to be contiguous with everything else that we have already in the district generally?
That would be something we would need to discuss with the advisory board, but also with legal
Okay.
regarding if there would be any expansion.
And as far as going, the logical thing might be to go north of Bluemont at some point, but you're really stretching downtown if you go across Bluemont, I suppose, so. Okay. All right, any other questions or comments on the public hearing part? All right, if not, we'll close public comments. Commissioners, questions or a motion maybe?
Okay, I move that we approve first reading of an ordinance levying increased business improvement service fees for 2024 on businesses located within the downtown business improvement district.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the motion. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Mayor Hassel?
Yes.
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Motta?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, on to the general agenda. We're going to consider consenting to the sale of the Manhattan Town Center. Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This evening, you will have before you a resolution that essentially consents to the sale of the mall. We were contacted a couple months ago, representatives of Rockstep Capital. I think we have the president and the COO in the audience this evening if you have questions for them. We also have a representative from Principal, who is a representative of the current ownership of the mall in attendance if you have questions for them. Part of the lease that we've been engaged with the owner of the mall now since the late 1980s, a provision within that lease, if it ever sales, requires the consent of this body to authorize that sale to move forward. In that review, the city also typically gets information from the prospective owner, submits that to our financial advisors. They take a look at a number of pieces and parts to their financial portfolio and generate a summary of that financial position. That's in your packet this evening. There's also information in your packet this evening about Rockstep, about the properties they've invested in, the properties they manage in a variety of different communities, and the tenants at which a lot of their facilities are occupied within their properties themselves. Those representatives are here this evening to answer any questions you may have. But again, the consent to the sale, this is, I believe, the 5th time the sale of the mall has occurred. The first was in 2004. Urban has been part of pretty much every sale since then, and this will be the first time Urban will not be part of the future ownership. Rockstep Capital is obviously a new entity and is in the process of purchasing that from Urban and other owners at the current time. Any questions I can answer the commission at this point in time. If not, we can turn it over to Rockstep and their president and COO.
Part of the requirements for the city making any money on the sale was the fact that they would increasing the debt on taking out a bigger, better loan than what was previously, or some combination of things that don't apply on the sale.
Correct. We've received information from current owners and the prospective buyer. They've ran through the net proceeds calculation that is enclosed in the lease as well. It has not generated any net proceeds. It has been a while since we've generated net proceeds. Back in '04, we did generate quite a few, but the trend of malls and the value of our mall was clearly on the uptick. Malls leveled out and have started to decline. It doesn't take a lot of research, even under Riley County appraiser data, to see where our mall is currently valued versus at one time being valued at over $40 million. So in this calculation, though, we've seen the data, and concur that no net proceeds are part of this sale.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason? Well, let's send up Mr. Weiner, put him on the hot seat up here. And
Andy's here this evening and can make some comments.
all right.
Jason, thanks for the intro. Can you hear me? Do I need to sign in?
No,
Okay, thank you.
you're a presenter.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the city for all their support so far in our moving forward on acquiring basically what's called the ground lessee interest in the property, since the city owns the land. What I thought I would do is just take 30 seconds, tell you a little bit about Rockstep, even though it might be a little bit of a repetition from some of the information you have, and then leave some time for question. I want to introduce Tommy Stewart, our Chief Operating Officer, who's here as well, who's going to be the asset manager for the property. A little bit about myself. I'm from Houston, grew up in the retail business. Our family had a chain of clothing stores based in Houston, and we were in 3 states. We had about 150 stores, so I grew up kind of in the retail business, have been with Rockstep Capital. I started the company about 27 years ago. We have built or acquired a little over 9 million square feet of shopping centers. Currently, we're in 11 states. We own a property in Hutchinson, Kansas. And our model is to be really community-focused, community-oriented, everything about the community. So we do that in several ways. One, in every case, we try to get a local lender to be part of the capital stack on an acquisition. Here we have 2 Kansas banks. K-State is one of them, and First National Bank of Hutch is another. And we're very excited that they're supporting us in this endeavor. Second, we always attempt to get local investors in each one of our acquisitions, and I can't tell you who they are. You might have heard who they are, but we have significant local investors in on this deal. They are part of the ownership of this property. You would know them all. They love this city, they care about this city, they care about the property, and they are in a very close advisory role as we manage this property. And for us, we're really thrilled that these local investors, part of our due diligence is, are there people locally who are community-oriented who believe in the city and in the community and us enough to invest part of their capital with us? And if we don't get that, then we get concerned. It's the exact opposite here. This is a community where the local people care and are willing to step up, and for us, it's very, very exciting. We also, in every one of our properties, they are community-based, and there's community events and community activity that can occur here. And I know that's occurred already. We just want to put that on steroids and do that. A little bit more about us. I mentioned this to you, Linda, but the name Rockstep is a dance move. I love big band music. I think you heard this story, okay? I love big band music, Frank Sinatra and that kind of stuff. So Rockstep is when you swing dance or ballroom dance and you switch directions, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, Rockstep. And as a company, our goal is to Rockstep. Our goal is to be very nimble and light on our feet, because the market, malls are a tough business, guys. You got to listen to the market. You've got to listen to the community and be able to pivot as problems come up and as opportunities come up. And so we use Rockstep as a verb. Hey, guys, we got a Rockstep. Second, some of you might have seen this online. We have certain rules of behavior at Rockstep. We call them Rocksteps. And we have 25 rules of behavior. It's online. If anybody wants this, they're right here. And I want to mention 2 of them. All of them are relevant, okay, to what we do. But 2 of them I think are especially relevant to what we want to do here. And that's Rockstep number 10, be relentless about improvement. So our goal is to continually learn how to be better partners, how to be better. Am I on a time limit? Okay. I wasn't even thinking about that. Sorry about that. And how to be better partners, members of the community, and how to take an asset class. Malls are the most challenging asset class in commercial real estate, bar none. How do we improve it day by day by day? We're going to make mistakes, but we better learn. We better continually try to improve it. Second is Rockstep number 15, invest in relationships. And we are starting a relationship with you guys, okay? We want to live by these rock steps. We're not perfect, we make our mistakes, but this is what you can hold us accountable to. And we are going to be coming to you with ideas to improve things. Some of them will involve the city. It's coming, I know it is, because these properties have great opportunity and also great challenges. So this is who we are, and I think it's important that we share that. We think that this property is doing great right now, doing great. Hit a little bit by COVID, but doing great. We see opportunity for more regional and local tenants, that's the future here, for entertainment uses, family uses, fitness, activity-based type of uses. And some of our investors have already suggested some really, really crazy ideas. So crazy good, crazy good. So as the city has needs, I want you all to think about that property as a clean slate. If there's civic needs that are not just open a store or restaurant, but something that will change the dynamics of this city, this is probably one of the best pieces of real estate in the region. And we have the flexibility to redesign all or part of it to meet some crazy city needs. I'll give you an example. Janesville, Wisconsin. We're taking down the Sears building, and the city is investing $50 million in a sports complex. 2 sheets of ice for the semi-professional Janesville Jets hockey team, 40,000 square foot convention space, and volleyball and basketball courts to try to compete in the junior sports weekend tournaments, which is really what's driving a lot of communities like this. And if y'all have a need for any kind of major sports, any kind of activity that is really on scale, we can transform part of that property for those needs. Something to think about, okay? Don't get crazy. So I'm going to stop here. Tommy, do I need to add anything? No. Okay. Donna, do I need to add anything? Good. Great. Any questions?
Yes. So in this day of most malls declining,
Yes.
what makes you guys special that you can turn this around when Simon Properties, various other places don't seem to, previous owner of the Hutch Mall couldn't, didn't, wouldn't adapt and change and solve their issue? What makes you guys different besides, I guess it's accepting the fact that we need to deal with regional and local things maybe as opposed to corporate, national, Fortune 500 stores? What do you really?
Why do you think we can be successful?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
When others may not be being successful.
So I would contend to you that the previous owner here, and again, I don't know all this history, but I would contend they were successful here in terms of what they did to protect this asset. Okay? This is a good asset. Mm-hmm. Dillard's does well. The movie theater does well. Penny's has gone through some challenges, but they're doing okay. And the actual bones of the property are good. The issue that all markets like this have is that some of the national retailers are just leaving. They're not going across the street to the Hy-Vee Center. They're not. They're just leaving. Okay? And so there is a possibility this market might lose 1 or 2 of the small national retailers, or 3 over the next 3, 4, 5 years. They're just shutting doors. Okay? So what we're seeing here, because we look at hundreds, and I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of communities, properties around the country, and just about all of them we pass on. So what we like here is the fact that this community has it. I use it is in quotes. This community has what are called essential drivers, which means it has K-State, Fort Riley, other government institutions. That's critical. But it also has it in the sense that this community believes in itself and invests in itself. And those two factors you have to have. We also see the fact that it's well located. I have not seen in the United States a property where the physical asset is on one corner of the main street in the city and has a very modern, appropriate design based a little bit on Fort Riley, okay? So the asset looks great. The community meets every threshold of which we have. It is suffering, like everywhere else in the country in markets of this size, because some of retail's shrinking in some of these markets. So the strategy is, how do we find other types of uses? And it comes from two places, regional, local. Certainly there's some nationals and regionals that we're talking to already, okay? But it also requires alternative use. Fitness, entertainment, medical office, multifamily, hospitality. That's a great tract of land. Okay, it's in the right spot. So transforming it, retail's shrinking, and what do you do with the rest? We either bring it to the table or we work with you on some ideas that might be transformative. What the city of Janesville's doing is investing in a great tract, and for the next 30 to 40 to 50 years, with that sports complex there, Dick's on one side, Kohl's on the other, we think there's going to be 1 to 2 hotels going behind it, and there's interest in multifamily. That's a pretty good story.
How long have you had Hutch Mall, and what have you been able to do with it so far? It was pretty much a ghost town.
Yeah,
5 or 6
so
years
let's talk
ago.
about Hutch Mall. Hutch Mall was basically empty, okay? So we put in Dunham Sporting Goods, TJ Maxx, Ulta Cosmetics, Harbor Freight, Dollar Tree, Ollie's, a vintage market. We have 4 new national, and a movie theater. So we put in a luxury seating movie theater with bar and grill. The inside of the mall is quiet. Everything is now facing out, and eventually we'll collapse the inside and probably make it storage. We're going to add 3 more national tenants, all of them investment grade, all of them any community like that will have. And so that property is where it was internally facing. Everything now will be external, and then the insides will end up being some kind of storage. Financially, very strong, like unbelievably strong, and that means that these tenants, with some more restaurants out there, will be a driver of sales tax and, employment, et cetera, right next to Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's. Target closed across the street. Is it sexy? No. But is it very viable? Yes. This can be viable and sexy because the property physically is just really attractive and its location is different. Okay, so this property is not going to go down. It won't. The question is, will it stay exactly with the kind of uses it has? We'd like to see alternative uses. It depends on demand, and can we find particularly some regional and local operators who want to do something transformative with us, and will the city be part of it or not?
Okay. Any other?
Did I answer your question, Mayor?
Yes, thank you very much.
It was a long answer, I'm sorry, it's a little
Okay.
too long.
Any other questions for Andy?
Just that we've talked off and on over the years about utilizing the out or the edges or the outlots for different restaurants or
Sure.
whatever. I would see that as probably in the future.
The answer is, I'd love to do that, because that is where the future is in these type of restaurants, you know, more Texas Roadhouse type of opportunities, different brands, those kind of restaurants. There are certain tenant restrictions on what can be done in the parking lot,
Okay.
and they limit somehow, but part of the future is negotiating what are called consents. And that is one of the things that we specialize in. But in a perfect world, I'd love to see 3 or 4 more restaurants in the parking lot. We would have to negotiate consents.
Are the consents with the city or with other?
They're with
Businesses
They're with
involved.
Penny's, who has
Dillard's.
as part of the parking field. You can't
Yeah,
do anything.
okay.
No restaurants
I see
there.
what you mean.
And Dillard says nothing over here, and
Yeah.
Alta says sorry, no.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
generally, you have to negotiate them out, and it's hard, but we'd love to do it. But I will tell you, that's a little bit of an uphill battle unless there's something so cool that we can prove to Alta and Penny's and Dillard's that, guys, you got to give up part of the parking lot in exchange for something that will benefit you. That's how those consents work.
do you happen to have an aquatic center in your pocket?
Let's talk about an aquatic center. Okay, hold on, let's talk about aquatic center. You asked, Scottsbluff,
No, I'm
Nebraska.
serious.
Scottsbluff, Nebraska wants to put in a 75,000 square foot aquatic center inside one of our retail buildings that has competition pool. They want to do the youth sports tourism thing, and then have some recreational aquatics there. It's the city wants to do it, the school district wants to do it. They'd like to get a little state money. We'd absolutely do it. You know, aquatic centers here would actually be a pretty cool idea. You'd have to really transform part of it, take a wing. I mean, you know, one idea is just take down all the middle, because it has the beautiful skylights, and make all that thing an aquatic center, and move retailers around and stores around on either side, or make an aquatic center on the right side. That kind of thing is expensive, 20, 30, 40 million bucks. I mean, that's real dough, but that's a community effort. And that kind of thing, to create true youth tourism, sports tourism, that is how communities around this country are competing for all these sports. I mean, it is a big business, and I've heard that the city has some aquatics needs, and absolutely, positively, we would like to talk about it, okay? In other words, it would be transformed, just like what Janesville's doing. What Janesville's doing, and they've spent 4 or 5 years talking to us about this. The governor is going to give $15 million. The city put in 27 or 28 million. A private group of citizens came up with $7 million. And it's going to be transformative. You know, there's already a indoor pickleball operator that's going to take 50,000 feet and do pickleball because, you know, they want to be part of the sports I mean, all this stuff works together. So again,
Possibilities, yeah.
the answer is, if there was a serious interest in aquatic center, we would talk. I was told to talk to a guy named Tracy Anderson.
Yep, he's the architect.
Yeah. An email went out on my phone over there that introduced me to Tracy about an hour ago.
I was just brainstorming, trying to think.
See what happens if you brainstorm,
What else
okay?
could we do?
So anyway, you've got my cards.
So, yeah, thank
Got
you.
my cards. Please reach out. There will be problems. We're going to make mistakes. Let us know. Please let us know when we make errors. But we are really open to being creative. I mean, I think, Mayor, we are interacting in this is the toughest asset class in this country. We've never lost a center. We've never had a capital call. And just about every mall in this country is insolvent. Okay? Now, we're not perfect. We've made our mistakes, but we're hands-on. We have a great team that lives by these rules, or tries to live by these rules. We have a great group of investors, and I feel very optimistic about what we can do here, long-term and short-term. There will be some hits just because of the world we're in, certainly if we enter a recession, okay? But I feel like this property is stable financially, very stable financially, and it has an opportunity to really do some creative things. Linda, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, once you sit close for a minute, we'll throw open public comment and then see if anybody
As
has...
long as there's easy questions, Mayor, please
There
no
you
dumb
go.
questions, okay?
All right, if you would care to comment on this, the city's consenting to the sale of the mall property, please come forward, state your name, sign in. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thanks, Commissioner. Blade Mage's 2000 Hunting. I had no idea this would be such an exciting meeting tonight. Here for a different item, but I guess just some context. I'm a business owner downtown. Been operating, hung a shingle 15 years ago. Long time ago, I didn't want to be in Manhattan because it wasn't that cool. I don't know Rockstep. I don't know anything about them. I didn't realize this was an agenda item tonight, but a couple things I want to just speak to, one of which there's a real opportunity right now with the work that the planning department's doing for the Beyond Downtown Tomorrow plan, which I'm a committee member of, steering committee member of. I guess I would just encourage the commission to be really thoughtful about this inflection point in downtown's history, simply because it is a tremendous opportunity. Things like aquatic centers and all these other things are awesome. They're not huge cash cows, right? And so I just want to make sure that whatever we do as we move forward, that there is a spirit of continued collaboration, because as we sit there and talk about what downtown could be, the number of ideas of what to do with that atrium space is as long as this room is wide. So really just be thoughtful about that, and not to say, again, this is in no way to disparage the new ownership in any way, but I want to go on record mentioning that it's a really, really big chunk of land. Downtown is prime for continued development, and it is a point of conversation all the time with all the circles I run in for the downtown business community. So just be certain through your guys' diligence process that you're excited about the collaborative spirit, and if any of those things can be somehow contractually obligated, even better. But yeah, I'm excited by the idea. The reimagination of what the mall can be would be tremendous for downtown. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Blade. Come on up, state your name, sign in.
My name is Stephanie Bogert. I live at 4514 Freeman Road. I just wanted to, I guess, give my 2 cents or my comments. I've lived a lot of places, military brat, and then I continued to move throughout my adult life. And I finally bought a home, settled down here, and this is one of the best communities I have ever lived in. The sense of community and belonging is unbelievable. And the mall is doing much better than any other mall that I've seen in this country in the past 10 years. It's beautiful, and I know a lot of the business owners. What I find unique and different about this mall is you've got the little mom and pops in there. You've got Galaxy Girl Coffee. You've got the candle store. You've got a few locally owned clothing stores that are in a few other malls in Kansas. I see more small businesses in this mall and more sense of community in this mall than I've ever seen anywhere else. And I've also seen more people in this mall than in a lot of other malls. And I don't want to lose that. I think he's got a lot of great ideas. But as a member of the community, I just want to continue to see. I know there's going to be the big companies in there, and they're going to need to be for the anchor stores, but I don't want to lose those little mom and pops. And I like the idea of maybe putting a gym in there, or a little mini golf, or something that families can do together with some of those spaces and continue with that sense of community. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else care to comment on this item? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, I
You got your
do.
finger up first.
I know that a couple of years ago, the city commission approved, I think it was called a community improvement district for the mall, in order to improve the hallways, the tile, the restrooms, that kind of, to update it. And there's a small sales tax that is funding those improvements. Will that transition to the new owner then, just automatically?
Yes, I believe they've structured the deal based on the improvements they've made so far.
Okay.
And then the revenues that will continue to come into the city. It's a 0.75% of that total revenue on an annual basis. We get to keep 10%, and we'll put that back in the mall plaza. But 90% of those revenues, yes, will continue to go back to the mall ownership.
Thank you. I think that'll be important. And how much longer does it last? Is it indefinitely? Is it?
No,
It
it's
was
a
10 years?
22-year deal, and I
22.
think we did it, so about around 2040, I believe.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, any other
Thank
questions or comments, John?
Just comments. I really like this alternative use model. It's something I've looked at a lot, being someone who's been in retail almost 40 years, and then even after that, working with the K-State Business Department, looking at a number of different alternatives, is really, when you look around the country, malls that have been able to come back has been following this type of strategy of getting alternative uses. It's, in some sense, almost music to the ears to have someone in, talking about doing this, because it's, and I've talked to some people in the community about it, I think it's the type of strategy that we really need to look forward to, and I'm real excited about it.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that on the big scheme of things, it's doing well, or at least it's nice and stable, because, yeah, if you go down there during the week, there's not many people wandering around there, so I'm always concerned that it's not holding its own very well, but that is good to hear, and a new vision and new blood, a new infusion of ideas will definitely be a good idea. So, anybody want to make a motion? Or I will do it. Please, I move that we approve resolution number 101723D, consenting to the sale of the Manhattan Town Center to Rockstep Capital LLC, and authorize me and the city clerk to execute all documents to facilitate that sale.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hassel,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Morse.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, there you go. Good luck. We'll move on to item 2, rezoning the former Ag Press site from IL Light Industrial District to PD Plan Development Floating Zone District to create a unique dining, recreation, and entertainment venue.
Good evening, Commissioners. Stephanie Peterson, Director of Community Development. The first item I have for you this evening is for your consideration of rezoning the Ag Press site from IL Light Industrial to a commercial PUD. Here's the location of the site, just north of Fort Riley Boulevard to the west of 15th Street, and then a closer look at the site as it is today. I don't believe that we've gone through a new PUD since I've been here, so it just kind of as a reminder for all of us. The way that this works is that first the rezoning occurs, and that's based on a preliminary development plan. That establishes the uses for that PUD. After that preliminary development plan is approved, then the applicant would come back to us with a final development plan, and that's when we get into more of the site-specific type of kind of technical details, signage, the facade, and then have a better kind of go away from this conceptual drawing and be more architectural level. So the applicant is proposing two different phases to this development. Phase one that you see here, it utilizes the existing spaces, really trying to make the most out of what the existing warehouse is today. The main change that you'll see is exterior of the building is this gravel parking lot down here. That's to support some of the uses within the existing building. When we look at phase two, that's when they would really start to look at the interior of that existing building to start separating those spaces. You can see there some of the different proposed uses. This PUD is based on the community commercial district. For the most part, they've added a few other uses there, and then they've restricted some. But for the most part, having this really nice kind of mixed-use entertainment type of a venue. There's restaurants, some, I think, office space, event venues, and then this outdoor area here that would have some landscaping that goes along with it. And the applicant is here, so he could speak more to some of those uses if you had any questions. When we look at the zoning district as it is today, again, IL, but you can see that both to the east and the west there are community commercial uses, and then immediately to the north is residential. The community commercial is much more compatible with that residential use than the existing IL. That was one of the main reasons why staff was made a recommendation to the planning board to approve this, was just that compatibility aspect. Looking at our future land use map, we're finding that from 2015, a lot of the land uses were kind of a snapshot in time rather than kind of re-envisioning what those sites could be. So while this does show as industrial, as well as this lot up here, which is already zoned community commercial, that community commercial zoning district is much more appropriate for this area. This did go before planning board a couple of weeks ago. The planning board unanimously recommended approval of that rezoning. There weren't any public comments that were received during that hearing. And if there's any questions that you all have for me.
I had a question about what a floating,
the floating zone?
Floating zone.
Yeah, so
I'd never heard it before.
Yeah, that was part of our clever language, I think, that we incorporated into the MDC.
Yeah.
We have an amendment coming back to you here in a couple of months that will take, so it's a planned development floating zone.
Yeah.
It's just a change in language. We're actually going to recommend going back to the planned unit development, which is what a lot of different places call it. It's what we're used to calling it. So it's just a nomenclature.
It was the floating part that I needed clarification. I know what a PUD is.
Yep.
And I'm glad you're going back to it, because I
Yes.
understand that. But it's the float part that
I'm not sure why we called it that.
Okay, so in the new, in what you change it to, you won't really be calling it a floating.
No, it'll just be planned unit development like it used to be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, glad to hear that.
All right, any other questions for Stephanie? All right, we'll throw it open for public comment, or not a public hearing, just public comment on this rezoning. Anybody feel strongly about it, against it, for it? Nope, okay, good. I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion or any other discussion to be had?
I'd be interested in asking Stephanie about the gravel lot
Eric.
and about parking generally.
We'll let the
So if
applicant-
this is a really popular venue, and I know you have enough parking for,
No, you don't need to sign in.
I'm good.
You're speakers.
you're the applicant.
Okay,
Yeah,
applicant.
321 North 14th Street.
Derek Richards, Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah, a lot to say about this. I've been dreaming about this property for a long time now. We can get into specifics, but really the main thing that drove this project and my passion for working on it and trying to figure out what it's going to be is based off of a couple things. I talked to Tom, the previous owner, and there were offers for raising the property. I was extremely motivated at that point. This is a property that we need to preserve, we need to take care of. There's not many like this in Manhattan, really. And this is just something that me and my wife were just passionate about doing. So of course we got it on the historical registry, bought it, and it's gonna stay. And we're just excited about what it could be. A lot of people in my demographic, there are districts in this town, in Aggieville, for things to do in Aggieville, downtown for downtown. We got kids. We want to do something. So we're trying to figure that, how can this space be almost maybe a slight third district for doing something in Manhattan. So we're coming up with dreams and ideas of how to make this project viable for the remodel and the repurpose, but I'm just excited about it. It's 4 acres. It's awesome. We can do so many things with it. And it's right smack dab in the middle of town. It's in a district that is going to be awesome to revive. It's right next to a hotel, a park. I mean, it's just so unique. So yeah, I could say a lot more things about it, but yeah, we're working on trying to figure out what it's going to be. Yeah.
So are you looking at, like, in the go to the next slide if anybody knows how to do that. You got kind of that food court area thing there. Is that like, you think about like numerous small?
We were thinking the town needed a mall, needed a food court, so we were gonna, that was a joke. No, we're not. Okay. A lot of inspirations for this project come from Kansas City. If you look at a lot of old buildings, what they're doing is they're taking historical buildings and they're repurposing them for community activities. Food halls, professional dog parks, pickleball, that's the big hot one right now. Everybody loves pickleball. Everybody loves a good outdoor concert. Really the thing for me that is, it's just culture. It's just you take something old and you make it viable. And that's really good for Manhattan, for us to use what we already have. And so that, yeah, we're kind of using these ideas of what if a brewery went in there? What if it was a space in the back that the community could just come in and enjoy and watch the K-State away game on a Saturday that doesn't really exist right now in Manhattan. These are many handful of ideas that we're working on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Derek and his unnamed companion?
The architecture.
Brad Boozer. You said night architect.
That. You were just going, man. So.
Dance, monkey. Come on. All right. Yeah, any other questions?
The architecture, is that mid-century? What do you call the architecture?
You would think that. I've learned that it's not. It's
not.
It's like a period before Art Deco.
Okay.
Art moderne.
There it is. Yeah. But let's just say Art Deco for the ease of things. Yeah. It's amazing that building is still been preserved for so long because AgPress is still operating out of the front office. The back warehouse is no longer. We're just using dry storage right now.
Mm-hmm. And Rotary.
And Rotary. Yeah, we're trying to be as creative as possible. Yeah. The question that I keep asking people is, it's not my project, it's for the city. So whatever Manhattan, kind of like what the mall project is, whatever the need is, we need to start building it. We need to have the space and the creativity to start attacking these ideas. Yeah.
I really like the idea of when I go to other cities and they have repurposed an old water plant.
Yes.
Or an old warehouse. They're just excellent things.
Magnolia Farms is one of the most attracted places in Texas. So economically, I mean, we're right on the busiest street in Manhattan that stretches from Wamego to Junction City. We should be bringing those dollars here to do something.
I'm familiar with Grand Rapids, Michigan, where my son is, and we tramp around all over, and that's and Kansas City has some of those too. There's an atmosphere that a brand-new box doesn't have.
Yeah, right. I think, and also, I spoke at K-State in a few entrepreneurship classes, and there's a major population of students that aren't interested in Aggieville life, and they don't have anything else to do. And these things in bigger cities that have culture, mostly it's coffee shops, but you have a place to bring your dog or a place to just have culture, pop-up shops, these are the things that are kind of essential to bubbling up that culture here in Manhattan. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Faneuil Hall in Boston?
No.
Yeah.
But I've looked at hundreds of different Instagram places that are just doing cool things.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's basically a food thing with 30 different food vendors and kitchen type things in it. But the thing is, you got to have regular amounts of people on a regular basis to make a permanent thing like that. And so hopefully at some point, I don't know how you can do it on a part-time basis, but yeah, it's like having 15 food trucks all parked right there. And so, but
we're exploring all that stuff. I think food and beverage is going to be the biggest hurdle of how can we make that work? How do we find an operator? Big problems, but I'm encouraged by the creativity and the talent here in Manhattan that we'll figure it out.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming up. We'll go ahead and throw it open for public comment on this. If anybody would care to weigh in on it. If not, we'll close public comment. Is there a motion?
I move we approve first reading of an ordinance rezoning 3.99 acre tract of land generally located east of the intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Yuma Street from IL Light Industrial District to BD Plan Development Floating Zone District based on the findings of the staff report and recommendation by the Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this rezoning. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Motta?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Mayor Hassel?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, item C, two left. We'll consider amending the Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive and Future Land Use Map.
Yes, so we have a comp plan amendment for you. That would be to amend the future land use map. You'll see on a couple of slides, we call it the FLUM, which is a really terrible word, but it's quicker to say. And then this also includes the removal of the reference to 3 independent documents that are no longer relevant. When we look at the future land use map, there's 2 different areas that we're proposing changes to. One up here in the northwest part of the community, the other one down by the airport. So looking at the northwest part, Grand Mirror Parkway is right here, just to kind of orient you. This purple line, that's called our urban service area boundary. That is the boundary in which we can provide city utilities, water, sewer service. So anytime that we make a recommendation for annexation to you all, we make sure that we're able to serve it. That line is just supposed to help us do that check a little bit quicker. When this line was drawn in 2015, it seems a little bit arbitrary of how it came about here. So what we're proposing to do, let me back up. This yellow rectangle here, that is Hartford Hill Master Plan. We've been working with the owner of the land and the developer, and they have shared their intentions that they do not plan on developing the western half of this. So right now, they're planning only on developing this eastern half. We are then proposing to move the USAB out to kind of follow this northern property line. Everything above that is K-State owned right now, and then to come straight down and line it up where Colbert Hills currently ends. In doing that, the other change that we're proposing to make is, and this is part of that independent document that I mentioned that we reference and we're going to remove, is that Hartford Hill then would be removed from reference in the comprehensive plan. The western half of this would be, the future land use map would reflect that as agricultural moving forward, and then everything here to the east, that would be medium residential. This slide here, so the This line is the purple line on the previous slide, and then the hatched area is just showing the area that would be within that urban service area boundary.
Will it have a new name other than Hartford Hills? Or?
It will not. So that master plan would essentially go away. We'll probably still refer to it as Hartford Hill, but we're starting to see the request for annexation and rezoning come in for the remainder of this tract. So it'll soon be called something different as they name that subdivision.
Okay. About how big is that piece of land there?
This was, I think, 90 acres, close to that.
Okay.
So Hartford Hills was 180.
Yep. And actually that,
60.
let's see. Okay.
That's okay. What?
I think it's 320. The original. I think it was 320.
It'd be a half.
But so I should mention that some of this here is already developed or is already annexed. Willis Edition that came before you a couple months ago now, that includes this area right here. So part of it is already moving forward, or part of it's already been annexed, and then Henry Edition down here as well.
So the western part, the owner just plans to put that into ag.
So I can speak to that a little bit. This half section
That is
here.
very unusual.
Well, this half section here, there's a single family home that's been built on it.
Okay.
And then this area here, this other quarter, that's been sold off to K-State.
Okay.
Doesn't want the neighbors too close.
That could be it.
Okay.
Area 2, this is again down by the airport. Earlier this year, we annexed and rezoned this MCM owned tract to Business Park. So we wanted to reflect in our urban service area boundary that it now includes that 70-some acres of land there. So in looking at it, the new USAB will include that hatched area. It's also currently shown as agricultural land in our future land use map, so we'll reflect that it is now zoned business park. And I also mentioned that there's so an additional 2 documents that we're recommending that we remove reference to. One of those is a 1994 Points Avenue corridor plan. There's not a whole lot there that we still find relevant. Just kind of as a side note, we do plan on updating a Points Avenue corridor plan starting next year. We'll do the planning portion in-house with the Community Development Department. And then the other document is a 2005 Aggieville Campus Edge. We have another Aggieville plan that's kind of that's more recent, so we no longer need to reference that 2005 one. And then again, the Hartford Hill Master Plan, it would no longer be referenced as an independent document.
So you would go for a year or 2 with no plan if you drop the 1993 plan now and you don't replace it and you start a study next year, it'd be another year before you implement it. So that'd be a 2-year period where there's no plan in place?
So the Points Avenue corridor plan that we're looking at is from really kind of Juliet, where downtown plan ends, all the way to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. There's not a whole lot that's in that 1994 plan that we would still recommend. We would rely on our future land use map right now to guide any sort of future development. So most of the recommendations in that 1994 plan, we're kind of past that. We've moved beyond it, and that's why we need to do another study. So there isn't a lot of purpose in still referencing this document that we would probably make a recommendation that it goes against.
Because the future land use plan is so broad and general.
Yep.
And these other studies are more specific, is my thinking.
Yeah, this one's just a little too out of date. It's almost 30 years old. So that's.
Do you expect the Downtown Tomorrow plan to be the replacement for that, for the downtown area?
No, so the Points Avenue corridor plan is outside of downtown. It goes basically from the western boundary to downtown all the way over to.
Like Juliet then west, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
All the way to the MLK Junior Drive.
So the Commerce Bank, what they're gonna do there won't be.
That's included in the downtown plan.
Oh, okay.
That side is.
Even though it's west of Juliet. I'm just trying to.
I would have to look at, I would have to look at what our downtown boundary is again, but I know that that's been a site that we've talked about as part of that planning effort. So this is more of, think about City Park. This is more further, so anything that is south of City Park, where we are right now. This would be anything between, we'll say 11th and Juliet, of just what does that corridor look like moving forward. A lot of it's going to be talking about transportation improvements, which weren't envisioned then.
So this isn't going to affect Random Woods folks any more than the
No.
regular rezoning did. This
Is reflecting the decision you already made.
Right, okay, nothing new there.
Nope.
Okay.
The other thing that I would add, and we can come back if you guys have questions, we did take this to the planning board. They recommended unanimous approval. There were no public comments that were received. Yesterday, we took this to the Riley County Board of County Commissioners. They passed a resolution. It's been signed. Of note going forward, we've been working with the legal staff, and they've provided us guidance of how we should handle these comp plan amendments in the future. This does require, any comp plan amendment going forward would require us going to the Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board and then also taking that same document to the Riley County BOCC and then also before you all. Even if it deals only with something within the city limits, the Riley County BOCC still has to approve that comp plan because of the interlocal agreement that we have with them for that joint planning board. That kind of dictates how we will go about adopting or amending comprehensive plans.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephanie? All right, sit close. We'll open up the public comment on this amending the Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive Plan and the future land use map. Anybody care to comment? Please sign in, then state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Diane Madison from 422 Wickham Road, and I cannot see that map close enough to know what, is that Wildcat Creek Road that comes down?
Yes.
And so are the white, is that all new?
No, that's the current Random Woods.
That's Random Woods,
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's the empty area where MCM is.
Well, the white housing area is the current Random Woods.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then there's Ogden. Okay, because my son lives on Wildcat Creek Road to the south of it, 3906, right above Eureka Drive.
Okay.
So does that, I can't figure out where that is.
That's outside the map.
It's outside the map?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question is, this is, you've already done this once, and are you asking for permission right now, or it's public?
Basically if.
I'm sorry.
What we're doing is we're just extending that into the city limits, essentially.
Okay, all right.
Or
So
this-
Or the city plan, no, that's not true.
The comp plan.
It's just the planning, taking on.
Okay.
To plan, we're gonna try to take on the responsibility of planning for that piece of ground.
Okay, all right. All right, I think that's all I can ask now.
Okay, very good. Anybody else want to try to stump the commission? Okay. All right, we'll close public comment, and is there a motion on this?
I move we approve first reading of an ordinance amending the Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive Plan as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive Plan and future land use map. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Motta?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Mayor Hassel?
Yes?
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, last item, we're going to discuss the Wareham Hall renovation update and a request for possible sales tax exemption on the construction materials through the issuance of industrial revenue bonds.
Good evening, Commissioners. Really just want to introduce Blade Magis, who's come before you this evening to tell you about a project down at the Wareham. Ultimately, looking for an industrial revenue bond with the sales tax exemption. I'll let Blade get through his presentation, and then we can discuss his request.
There's nothing to vote on tonight?
Correct.
Thank you. All right.
Discussion, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, I'll try to keep, I'm last on the show here, so I'll try to keep you guys as long as I possibly can.
Especially Mark.
Just starting strong, right? My name is Blade Mages. I'm president of the board of directors for Wareham Hall. We're a nonprofit organization. We've purchased the Wareham Opera House as of last year. Most of the world knows the Wareham in their lifetime at some point or another as a movie theater. It was a great movie theater when you knew it, and then in the 80s it kind of faded. What most people don't realize is actually since 1880, a structure has stood at that address for the purpose of bringing the community together for the arts and entertainment. I want a historian to come tell me I'm wrong. I put this out there for the public, but it's got to be one of the oldest buildings in town that is serving the same purpose for which it was originally constructed. That's a really special thing, and given the fact that it's right in the heart of our downtown, we're really excited about it. A lot of stuff's been there, not just Star Wars, or everybody reminds me that, you know, they waited in line for all day for it. John Philip Sousa played here in 1905. Women's rights suffragette Susan B. Anthony gave a presentation in the late 1800s. Manhattan, Kansas actually hosted a world premiere of a Universal Pictures film in 1955 starring Charlton Heston and Julie Adams. Julie Adams actually came to town and spent a week here. It's called The Private War of Major Benson. If anybody's seen Major Payne with one of the Wayans brothers, I'm gonna confiscate your pinky. It's a remake of this film. And then that never stopped the Wareham from, you know, stopping, collaborating, and listening. 30, 40 years later, we hosted Vanilla Ice in the late 90s. Point being, in some way, shape, or form, we've tried to be culturally relevant since the late 1800s. Arguably, Vanilla Ice was like 10 years too late when he played Manhattan, Kansas. It was a bit out of place. The building's been there. It's been in use in some way, shape, or form, but when our organization purchased it, it was really because we felt there was a need, but we wanted to go out and kind of prove that need. So we did a pretty extensive feasibility study. What you're looking at here is a facilities inventory of what we deemed to be quote-unquote performance spaces. These are not professional performance spaces. These are anywhere you can stick somebody with an instrument or a song to sing or whatever it might be. So this includes everything from museums, galleries, event spaces, restaurants, bars, all of the above, not just what you would think of as a proper maybe music venue or entertainment venue. The bottom shows seating capacity, and the left shows distance from downtown. And what you see here is tremendous blue ocean in that big red box. You look at other Big 12 markets, you look at other college towns, that box is peppered with venues like what we're proposing. We don't really have anything. The three things that you see there are All Faith Chapel, which is a non-ADA accessible, not really suitable, you can ask K-State, performance venue, but it's used. You also have the Larry Norval Band Shell, which is the star indicated there. And then the event space with the block is the Alumni Center. So even the things that live in this space are not really quote-unquote performance spaces. Beyond just the facility analysis, we looked at, we did our own primary research, talked to over 1,000 people through survey, focus groups, all the above. 87% would regularly attend popular performances, and by popular we meant touring acts. The number was somewhere around 85 that would attend local acts. 92% of folks are excited to attend live events at Wareham Hall in the future. But this one was the one that was really surprising and demonstrates the need. We asked people, does Manhattan have performances currently that represent your interests? Only 14% of people agreed or strongly agreed with that sentence. The rest were indifferent or disagreed. When we look at something as simple as music, and we don't plan to only do music, but when we do look at music, what you're seeing here is a cross-section of what those 1,000+ respondents were interested in. A lot of people might think, oh, it's just gonna all be rock and roll and red dirt. And what we found was that the tapestry of our community is reflected in this very chart. We have people who absolutely want blues and rock and country, but we also have people who want to see Tex-Mex or Tejano music or jazz or Latin or metal. Opera actually had a really surprisingly strong showing. So the community is changing, it's growing, and we need a home for that. Anecdotally, we spoke with folks, and we hear all the things that this organization, the city, the chamber, we're always trying to solve, right? These ideas that people leave this town because there's nothing to do. Why must I travel 60 to 150 miles to enjoy live music? And one of my particular favorites, this project is well overdue because the Wareham should be more than a symbol. It should be the source of joy, inspiration, and wonder for people of all ages with varying interests. So we formed a nonprofit to meet this very need. It's important to note that this project is not financially viable. I am a business owner, and there's no way that any business would invest the actual capital it's going to take to make this building work. HVAC system alone is $1 million, and you'll never see that profit selling tickets and weddings, and that's just the HVAC. Let alone ADA access in terms of ramps, elevators. All of our elevators are in the basement, or sorry, all of our restrooms rather are in the basement. This doesn't work as a for-profit business. A nonprofit had to step in to make this work so that the philanthropic community could save, what is a beloved building. Our mission is really bigger than the building itself. It aligns very well with a lot of, the purpose of all of us in community development, and that's growth. And we believe that we can achieve that growth through the arts. So there'll be 4 parts to what we do. The first is our own presenting series. This is us bringing the outside art into the community. This could be films, music, comedians, you name it. Think similar to what McCain does or the Stiefel in Salina. Wareham community, quick shout out for the gentleman there with the other gentleman on his shoulders. This Thursday, if you're not signed up, is air guitar on Points Avenue, so get signed up. That's what you're seeing there. We do want the Wareham to be a home for community events, things like air guitar or maybe even public forums for commission conversations.
Don't waste your time with that. No.
Third, co-presenting. One of the biggest comments we get is we already have McCain. McCain is actually one of our biggest collaborators on this project. We want to co-present with them. Todd Holmberg serves on our board, and he believes that there are certain shows that he would like to do that don't belong in that big theater. They belong in a smaller, intimate stage. We're excited to be able to do that. And also with co-presenting, we're exploring actively conversations with the Manhattan Arts Center about how can we share resources together, and how can we serve as a stage for K-State's 4,000 students that are in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Last but not least, we won't have a lot of available days, but the days we do have will be available for rentals, corporate functions, weddings, things of that sort. Again, I mentioned collaborators. I already mentioned McCain and the university. We're also we've been talking with downtown from day one, the school district, Boys and Girls Club, you name it. We've been involved. We're trying to really make this the community space. And so when we look at kind of the plans, and I'll caution everything you're about to see is conceptual. There's a lot to be answered still, but we are moving along. This isn't just a dream anymore. Our building has expanded beyond just the footprint. We own the building itself, but adjacent we have leased space beneath Barry's Drug. That building is woefully under-equipped when it comes to storage. We need a place to put tables and chairs so they're not blocking emergency exits, which they do currently. So to the left on the bottom portion of that, you'll just see some white box kind of finished spaces. But the other exciting space we have leased is directly above the Manhattan Brewing Company. So that would be the old Strecker Nelson West Art Gallery. What that's going to allow us to do is have this second floor lobby, because our lobby is a very cramped space. And so not only will we be able to use that second floor space for kind of signature events, but if it's just a small jazz night or a singer-songwriter, we can actually have smaller events, maybe up to 100 people in that second floor space. It'll be a really neat asset for downtown. Mr. Richards and his unnamed accomplice, we're talking about an art style. Our building is of that same period, at least the 1938 remodel, streamlined modern or streamlined modern. So a lot of the art that you see here, this is the lobby, and as we move into the main hall, is inspired by that era, late 30s, early 40s. We want to take it back to a place when it was, celebrated in Manhattan for being beautiful, welcoming, warm. What you see here is the theater configured in a seated capacity. The lower level is going to stay flexible, but the upper level will have permanent seats. The flexible seats will feel very proper. They'll feel like a proper theater seat, not a banquet chair or anything like that. In a seated capacity, we're aiming for right around 500, but believe it or not, there are lots of concerts that lots of people go to where you stand the whole time. And in a standing room kind of show, we hope to be able to fit maybe 700 to 750 in the space. That would be a view maybe someday as a performer. And this is that second floor bar that we were discussing. So this is right over the lobby, but beneath the old projector room. It ties into what you see here as the former art gallery right above the brewery. And again, our thought here is not only can this be lobby overflow, but with the flip of a switch, it can be a secondary performance space downtown. right-sizing bands with the places that they want to perform, or comedians, or spoken word, or whatever it may be. Big improvements to dressing rooms and artist green rooms, things of that sort. So overall, we're looking at a $17.5 million budget. The initial number we were presented with was just a little bit over 19. And as I was going through line item at a time, I get to the sales tax figure, and it was a little over $1.5 million. And I went to our contractor, which is BHS, and I said, I thought commercial construction you didn't have to pay sales tax on, and that is true for new construction. But as a commercial renovation, on the labor, as a commercial renovation, you have to pay sales tax on both the materials and the labor. So that number for our nonprofit added up to a little over $1.5 million. The building itself needs half of that budget to go to just making it work: plumbing, heating, air, elevators, all of those types of things, new restrooms. The next 30% or so is money to make it a suitable performance space, and the last is kind of the fit and finish for patrons and performers. I mentioned earlier that the project is no longer just kind of a dream and some pretty PowerPoint slides. We're over halfway fundraised. We've raised about $10.62 million to date, and we have engaged architects formally. They're in the middle of the design process right now. We're slated to begin construction sometime in June, if everything stays on schedule, of next year. That process will take about 2 years to complete. It is a very major renovation to a very old building that has a lot of challenges. So if all goes well, this time in 2026, we all might be enjoying a concert. So how can the city help? Tonight's discussion is really meant to just talk about what sales tax exemption through the use of IRBs can look like. We intend to work with city staff and council to formalize our application, but wanted to bring it here for any comments beforehand. Again, we estimate that this will save about $1.5 million of donor money, right? This is, we have to be stewards of the dollars that they've given us, and they gave us funds to build a great building and help our district thrive. So there's 4 criteria to the IRBs. Quality job creation is the first one. The organization someday will have 7 to 10 full-time. These will be good-paying jobs. We'll employ another 30+ part-time: security, bartenders, front-of-house staff, things of that sort. More important for this market specifically are jobs in the arts and entertainment. Post-COVID, Bureau of Labor and Statistics shows this is one of the fastest-growing industries. There's not a lot of jobs for those 4,000 kids at K-State that are in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. These would help support those. And then when we look at the data from the Americans for the Arts, which every 5 years does an assessment of the arts and economic impact of the arts, when we punch in all of our numbers, they tell us that our project will support about 100 full-time jobs total in the region. So coffee shops, gas stations, bartenders, things of that sort. Again, the second criteria is capital investment. We plan to invest around $17.5 million of private philanthropic dollars. We're utilizing local contractors. The third is economic diversity. So we intend, our programming will bring about 40,000 patrons to the downtown district. Benchmarking against comparative organizations suggests that about 40% of those people will be from out of town. In addition to their tickets and the money they spend at our venue, Americans for the Arts, say that they'll spend 27 extra bucks per head. And the other neat thing about Manhattan, Kansas, especially for a downtown district, is if we all want Bruce Springsteen to come play Manhattan, Kansas, he's not going to probably play on a Friday or Saturday. He's going to play on a Tuesday. And if we brought Springsteen to town and put him in town on Tuesday, every bar, restaurant, hotel would be thrilled, right? So Manhattan has the opportunity to, again, diversify its downtown revenue streams on those slower off days, because that's when a lot of the bigger names that we'll be able to bring into town can fit us into their schedules. And the last bit, kind of an open-ended for you guys to decide, but it's this concept of, does this meet a community need? So we obviously believe there's historic imperative for the space. We do demonstrate a need for cultural and artistic diversity. The space is not accessible, and more important, inclusive. We want to create a space that the whole community feels welcome in, that their interests are represented. And again, there's nothing like it in the community. So 4 kind of things we'll leave you with. Again, we're trying to create something accessible and inclusive. We're trying to increase the magnetism, not just of downtown, but Manhattan as a whole. We'll put about $4.5 million into the regional economy every year, and we'll bring a little over 40,000 patrons every year. So open it up for any questions about our plan, project, or anything else.
So you're not asking for any money yet, that's good, so it's just,
Yeah, just I guess to clarify, so for the IRBs, we do not plan to ask the city of Manhattan for an abatement of property taxes. We plan to use the Jason can help me, but the issuance, and we don't even know if we'll issue those bonds, I guess. But the eligibility for IRBs to get the exemption, not abatement, but the exemption of sales tax on construction and labor.
but being a not-for-profit organization, there won't really be any property taxes generated out of the place, or?
That'll be for the appraiser's office in Boda to decide.
Okay.
I'm sure Blade's looked at some opportunities through the state and how he qualifies himself from a tax status, but from a sales tax perspective, we went through this IRB process for a number of different entities. We wanted to give you all an overview and take your temperature tonight. It'd take 30 to 45 days for us to work with bond counsel and for Blade to work with a cost-benefit analysis. Steve Robb, who's done several that you've seen recently, would get all the information from Blade, run it through the model, and then we would bring back really a resolution to move forward on the sales tax exemption, if that's what you'd like to see.
Well, it's obviously a very cool project, almost as cool as Ag Press, but.
Hey, we're of the more is more camp. Manhattan needs right-sized venues, right-sized spaces for all types.
And they're different, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's a very cool project, and yeah, anything the city can do that we can help that doesn't cost us anything, we're
Well-
all on board. I am on board anyway. I don't know about everybody else.
I'm pleased that you're not asking us for money. I mean, I know that we would be exempting something we don't receive, but I think I'd rather do it that way than to have to tap in. We don't have money anymore in our economic development fund. It's pretty much committed to Scorpius and other, so it seems about something that we can do to assist, and it seems reasonable to me.
John?
Very positive on the project, like it a lot. Definitely in for the industrial revenue bonds. We've used it for all sorts of people in the past. Other communities are using it. If we don't use it, they're still going to use it. It's going to put us on a competitive disadvantage. It's very minor, any actual loss that we have in tax revenue. So very much like to see it. Actually, it's been a pretty good night between this, the Ag Press, and the mall. I mean, a lot of really good stuff.
Exciting time for Manhattan.
So, no, thumbs up.
All right, Win?
Yeah, I agree with John. You left out the Art and Light Museum, so we're gonna have a lot of things to do in the city in the next couple of years. We get all these projects done.
All right, there you go.
More people coming to our community, and these will take a couple of years to play out, so it's gonna, you're all on different schedules and different timelines, so it'll take a while to actually see these, but within 4 or 5 years, they should be coming to fruition, and that would be a boon for our city and our hotels and all the things we have planned, so.
There you go, full speed ahead.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, that is the last of the agenda items. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the October 17th, 2023 City Commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Mayor Hattasol?
Yes.
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Motta?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Have a good night. Meeting adjourned.